Welcome back for the third part of One Man's Faith. We're looking now at Hebrews, and we're looking at chapter 2 as we're moving, hopefully, into chapter 3, about the comparison between Jesus and man, and Jesus having to become man, so that by doing that, by being a man, now he has control. Do you see? God now has control through the God-man Jesus. Okay? So it brings things back to God that way, so that he is in control because of what Jesus has given us. And so Jesus gave us his word, and just as if you agree with Satan about things, empowering Satan, when we agree with Jesus, when we agree with his word, we empower God. You see, the things that happen in this world are totally up to us. And if we will agree, if we will walk in the ways God calls us to walk, then we can change this world. We can change Pahrump, we can change Nevada, we can change America and bring it back to what it was supposed to be, and that is a nation under God. We were built on that foundation. We were built on that foundation. No matter what people try to do, we've gotten to where we have taken history and skewed it such that now we even think, all of Washington is set up under the who are those guys called? The Templar or the not the Knights of Columbus. Who's the not the Gideons? Oh man. I forgot what that organization is. We've skewed. We've tried to skew history and say that it's set up in kind of a demonic way. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Do you know that they used to hold church in the Capitol building? Yeah, they held church in the Capitol building. The Rotunda area, I believe, was church. Do you know that the first thing that our government did when George Washington, right after he accepted the oath of office as president, he, his cabinet, and Congress all went to chapel and prayed. Listen, you can't say that we were not set up under Christian principles. As a matter of fact, John Adams says that the only way the Constitution of the United States will work is and do the right thing. John Adams said that. Now that's a paraphrase. If you want, I'll find it and I'll quote it. But I just want you to understand that. So, why did I even go there? We're in charge. We're in control of this place, and we can give our control to God, or we can give our control to Satan. That's where Satan gets his control from us agreeing with him. So if you want him to have less power, you see, Jesus said in Matthew 28:18, all power and authority has been given to me. Well, if all power and authority has been given to him, who doesn't have power? The evil one. Do you see that? He only gets it by us giving it to him. Okay, so let me see if I can go on. So chapter 2 is about Jesus and man. Now chapter 3, let's look at chapter 3. Therefore, okay, whenever you see a therefore, find out what it's there for. Okay? Whenever you see a therefore, find out what it's there for. The opening word here is therefore, holy brethren, partakers of a heavenly calling, consider Jesus. Now, why? What's the therefore? Okay? To find the therefore, you got to go back and see what would pertain to considering Jesus. Well, If you go back to chapter 2, I'm going to say the place is at verse 17. He had to be made like his brethren in all things so that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in the things pertaining to God, to make atonement for the sins of people. Therefore, consider Jesus. You see that? Okay? So that's kind of how the therefore works. So therefore, we need to consider Jesus the apostle and high priest of our confession. Okay, the apostle by apostle. You know, I thought there was only 12 apostles. How can he be called the apostle? All right, well, the word apostle means a delegate, an ambassador. So Jesus is the ambassador. Remember, he's the exact representation of God's nature. Okay, so he's the ambassador, he's the delegate, he's the representative of heaven. And he's the high priest of our confession. Now how does that work? High priest of our confession. Okay, he holds on to, he understands, he knows. Confession is the word here, homologeo. And we've looked at that word before. Homologeo, saying the same word. He is the one that is over the word. He is the word, isn't he? John 1 tells us, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God, and he became flesh. That's what John 1 through 4 or 5 or so tells us. Okay, so he's the high priest, he holds fast to our confession. He's the intercessor. He's the intercessor of our confession. He was faithful, verse 2 says, to him who appointed him, as Moses also was in his whole house. So, chapter 1, Jesus and the angels. Chapter 2, Jesus and man. Chapter 3, Jesus and Moses. There's a comparison here between Jesus and Moses. He was faithful to him who appointed him, as Moses also was in his house. For he, verse 3, had been counted worthy of more glory than Moses by just so much as the builder of the house has more glory than the house. Remember, all things were built. All things were made through Jesus. You can see that in chapters 1 and 2. For every house is built by someone, but the builder of all things is God. Now, Moses was faithful in all his house. Let's see. And Christ was faithful as a son over the house. So there's a difference here, even though Jesus has attributes of Moses, or Moses has attributes of Jesus, whichever way you want to look at that. They were both faithful in what they were appointed to do. Moses was faithful over the house, or in the house. He was part of the house of Israel, okay? Jesus, being the builder, is over the house, okay? But he was faithful in what he did. Verse 6, Christ was faithful as a son over his house, whose house we are. Now look at that next little word. If we hold fast our confidence and the boast of our hope firm till the end. Listen, we've got to be careful to not give it up. That's where the rubber meets the road. You see, if you come into the things of God, you accept Jesus as Lord, and then you just sit back and you do whatever you want, whether it's God's, part of God's law or not. Listen, that's an if, and it's an iffy place to be. That's not where you want to be. You want to be striving to do all that God has for you. If you think you can accept Jesus and do drugs during the week and then go to church and be holy, no. If you think you can live with your girlfriend and be a member of a church, or be even worse, be in a position of authority in the church, like a deacon or an elder or something, you're wrong. and you're living in sin and it's taking you away. This says, if we hold fast our confession and boast of our hope firm till the end. Now, this is not the only place. We're going to see it some more. But you know, I want you to understand what's going on here. There are if clauses in the new covenant, or the renewed covenant, however you want to look at that. We have got to do it right. I didn't say perfect, but we've got to do it right. We have got to say, okay, God, here's what your word says. Lord, I will follow your word. I will do what you've asked me to do because I want to be with you. Amen? You understand what I'm saying? Okay, think about it. Let's take a break, and I'll be right back.